Alright, guys, this is me doing the ESPN Pigskin Bracket Challenge because the NFL playoffs are coming up very soon. And yeah, I'm going to do my playoff bracket challenge. So here we go. First of all, I think, in my opinion, this will be the most interesting playoff in the National Football League in many years, I think. I hope we get a very intriguing Super Bowl matchup. I know last year we didn't get a very intriguing one because it was a rematch. But the game itself, it went into overtime. Yeah. Last year's Super Bowl, San Francisco 49ers not in this year's playoff. When's the last time that happened? Probably the Atlanta Falcons is my guess. So, alright. So here we go. Let's create a bracket. I have done this before, but previous years my bracket has been a failure. I think I'm confident I'll be much better at this. First of all, I'm not a huge NFL fan. I kind of used to be like 10 years ago, but about 5 years ago, over 5 years ago or so, like the late 2010s and the COVID years, I was starting not to like the league, especially after the New Orleans Saints got screwed out of the Super Bowl. That was my favorite team because I live close to New Orleans, South Louisiana. And then I stopped watching it. I stopped caring about it. I didn't watch any Super Bowls since, man, we're approaching 7 years since the last time I got into a Super Bowl. I did watch some of last year's Super Bowl, but that was only the first quarter. The rest of the game, I listened to it on radio while I was playing my favorite game, Truck Simulator. This year, I might actually watch the Super Bowl because it'll be in New Orleans. The first Super Bowl I watched was in New Orleans 12 years ago. That was the first Super Bowl I watched live, and that still is the best Super Bowl I watched live. So I really hope we get a very intriguing matchup. I hope we do. I think we will after last year's disappointment, even though the game itself was pretty good, but it was a rematch from 5 years ago. But, however, recent years I'm slightly back into it, not as much as I was over 10 years ago. I don't watch 3 games every Sunday. I would usually watch the night games, the primetime games. I didn't really watch much, though. Where I get my news from is the Sports Center with Jay Onrait. It's the Canadian version of ESPN on TSN, okay? And I know I live nowhere near Canada, but I have one of those illegal apps on my Fire Stick, and I would get TSN. That's my favorite sports channel ever. I'm on it like every week. So, that's where I get my news from, and I listen to a lot of sports talk shows, and they would talk a lot about the league itself. So, that's where I get my news from. I don't really watch games much, but I do know what's going on thanks to these shows that I watch and listen to. So yeah, I'm not saying I'm a big fan of it, but I guess I'm not a hater anymore like I was 5-6 years ago. So yeah, I think it's much better. We're in a new era. This is a different era now. Times have changed, so I think just by looking at these matchups, all these matchups will be very interesting. That's why I said earlier, this might be the most intriguing NFL playoffs in many years, in my opinion. At least in my lifetime. Alright, let's get started. Starting off with the wild card games, okay? So we got 2 teams with a bye, Kansas City Chiefs on the AFC and the Detroit Lions on the NFC. So like over 10 years ago, back when I was a big fan of it, 4 teams would get a bye, 2 from each conference. And instead of 6 wild card games, it was 4 wild card games. So I guess it's better now. I just hope they don't add any more teams. How many teams are there? I think there's 12. No, 14. It used to be 12, I believe. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that was a different era. Alright, let's start off with these games. The first one, Saturday afternoon, the LA Chargers at the Houston Texans. And one of the shows that I like listening to is Christopher Mad Dog Russo, and he says it seems like whenever the Houston Texans are in the playoffs at home, they would always get that Saturday afternoon game. And I noticed that too. I don't know why they're doing that on purpose, but that is what it is. And if you click on preview, it'll open a new tab, and ESPN will give its matchup predictor. So it favors LA Chargers just by a little bit. Okay, LA is 11-6 and Houston is 10-7. The game is in Houston, and it's on CBS. So normally the Saturday games are on like ESPN and NBC, but it's all about the networks, the money. They get to decide which games they want to broadcast. I'm going to go with the LA Chargers. Jim Harbaugh just won the national championship at Michigan a year ago, and here he is in the playoff. First year back in the pros, he's in the playoff. That's something. Saturday night, a rematch, a division rivalry between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. This game is on Amazon Prime. A year ago, we had a game on Peacock, and people were going crazy about that. They were criticizing it. I wasn't really criticizing it because I've already had Peacock, so I'm like, oh, okay, it's that simple. But Amazon Prime. But that is, I gotta admit, that was weird that the game was only on Peacock but not also on NBC. Because if you watch Sunday Night Football, it's on both NBC and Peacock. But for some stupid reason, that playoff game, in that freezing cold weather in Kansas City, that game was only on Peacock. They weren't showing anything else interesting on NBC during that game, so that's why people criticize it. But, like I said, I already have Peacock for years, so I'm like, it's easy for me. But for those that don't have it, I get your frustration. So now Amazon Prime is having a playoff game. But I think more people have Amazon Prime than Peacock, because Amazon Prime always has Thursday Night Football, so we shouldn't get too many criticism on this time. I'm sure the Baltimore Ravens are a big favorite in this one. They played each other a couple weeks ago. Wasn't it on... I forget who won that game. I'm pretty sure Baltimore won. Oh, wow, 72.2% for Baltimore? I don't know about that. I know they are a better team, but sometimes Pittsburgh can, like, sneak up. So this is their third time playing. The first time they played, they lost at Pittsburgh 18-16. A couple of weeks later, they got revenge, a victory 34-17. And I heard someone say the Lamar Jackson chokes in the playoffs. Will it happen again? I don't think so. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. And they'll be taking on the winner on Sunday afternoon between the Denver Broncos and the Buffalo Bills. So, Sean Payton, the head coach of Denver, back in the playoffs. But the game's in Buffalo, a tough environment. But Buffalo would choke in the playoffs every year, especially if they play against the Kansas City Chiefs. But I am going to go with Buffalo. They score a lot of points, so I like offense. Moving on to the NFC side. This is Sunday afternoon. Okay, this is weird. Another thing about this schedule. Let me go to the schedule. The list here. I think they did this last year as well. But the schedule here. Look at this. You have the first three wild card games are all AFC teams, and then the next three are all NFC teams. Isn't that weird? You don't want to alternate AFC, NFC, AFC, NFC game, but no, it's AFC, 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 and then NFC, NFC, NFC. That's sort of weird. Let me see if they did that last year. You can go back. You can look at the schedule from the past. That's why this ESPN.com is the best to have that stuff. I think they did the same thing last year. Let me go back a year ago and see if they did the same thing. Oh, this game, the Monday, okay, the Pittsburgh and Buffalo. That game was, yeah, that was originally supposed to happen on January 14th. But I think that was supposed to be the first game on the 14th on Sunday. So basically, they kind of did the same thing last year until that game had to be postponed due to the snow. Excuse me. Speaking of Buffalo, the weather is important. Will it snow? Is it going to snow there? It will say, if you click on the matchup predictor, I forgot. I know it's going to be cold. That's the thing about the playoffs. A lot of these games will be cold. That's going to be cloudy, 30 degrees. Okay. Alright. NFC. The Green Bay Packers against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are a hotter team, so I am going to pick them with Jalen Hurts. That game's on Fox. And then the Sunday night game is the Washington Commanders against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I heard that the Washington Commanders have not won a playoff game in many years. But I am going to go with, I guess, the upset, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because they are the home team. Monday Night Football between the Minnesota Vikings and the LA Rams in Los Angeles. I will be watching that game because I really like watching Monday Night Football with Peyton and Eli on ESPN2. And Bill Belichick. I guess this is Bill's last game because he's now the head coach at North Carolina. Very interesting. Let me see. Let me go to the preview for these games. Oh, wow. Philadelphia, 51.2? You'd think this would be much higher for Philly. I heard Philly had some injuries, but I think they're still going to win. Games in Philly, it's a tough environment. What about this game? Oh, wow. Tampa Bay, 58.3%. That's their matchup predictor. Okay, that game's on NBC. And Peacock. Not just Peacock, it's also on NBC. What about the Monday night matchup? Vikings, 53.9. LA Rams. Lately, the LA Rams have been winning. This is tough. And it says the bye teams will play the lowest remaining seed. So if I pick the Vikings, they will play the Lions. If I pick the Rams, they will also play the Lions. Oh boy, are we going to get Vikings and Lions again? Part 3? No, I'm going to pick the LA Rams in this one. Alright, the divisional round. Let's go to the AFC side. The LA Chargers against the Kansas City Chiefs. You never know about the Chiefs because, you know, they're back-to-back Super Bowl champions, are going for a three-peat, which has never happened before in Super Bowl history. The game will be in Arrowhead. It's a divisional game, rivalry. The LA Chargers almost beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think the game was in Kansas City. But I do think Kansas City will pull off this win here. They are the favorites, so I'm going to go with them. This one will be very interesting if this is the game. Baltimore Ravens against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Ooh, that's like a coin flip. The game is in Buffalo though, and these two teams usually choke in the playoffs, so one of these two teams will choke again. I think Buffalo's going to choke again. I'm going to go with the Ravens. NFC side. LA Rams against the Detroit Lions. Now, the Detroit Lions, their last game was against the Vikings. Two teams that were 14-2. That's crazy. Two teams that were 14-2 in the same division. The LA Rams or the Lions. That I can see the LA Rams pulling it off. But I really do think the Detroit Lions will get the job done. So I will go with the Lions. Buccaneers at the Eagles. Game will be in Philly. So I have to go with Philly. All right, here we go. My conference championship games. AFC, Baltimore Ravens at the Kansas City Chiefs. A rematch from last year's, except last year's was in Baltimore. This year's it'll be in Kansas City. And I'm going to go with Kansas City to go back to the Super Bowl for the third straight year. NFC championship game. The Philadelphia Eagles at the Detroit Lions. Whew. The Detroit Lions, they almost made to the Super Bowl last year, and I think they will actually go to the Super Bowl for the first time in their franchise. So I really got the two best teams in the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions, Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. If this is the Super Bowl, this is the Super Bowl that should have happened last year, so I think we're actually going to get it. That's my prediction. So who will win? Both 1 seeds. When's the last time that happened? Both 1 seeds. It might have been the last Super Bowl I watched 7 years ago between the New England Patriots and the Philadelphia Eagles, because they were both the number 1 seeds. Alright. So history will be made. Either Kansas City will win their third straight Super Bowl, a three-peat, or the Detroit Lions will win their first ever Super Bowl. I think more people will cheer for the Lions because they've never won it before. If this is the Super Bowl, I will watch it. I will watch if this is the Super Bowl. Who will I cheer for? I don't really care who wins, to be honest. You'd think I would cheer for the Detroit Lions because they've never won it before. Part of me wants to see history, a team winning it 3 in a row, because I'm not a big NFL fan. You know, back when I was a big fan, I did not like Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. See, ever since Tom Brady left the Patriots, it's Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, you know, winning so much every year. And I know a lot of people are sick of them now. See, that's what happens when you're the best team for years and years. But I don't mind if they win it again. I find Patrick Mahomes one of the most, if not the most entertaining quarterback I've ever seen. So it's hard to count them out. And I think more pressure will be on the Lions because this is their first Super Bowl appearance. Kansas City has been in the last 2 Super Bowls. So I think the Chiefs will three-peat. Super Bowl three-peat champions in New Orleans. That is my prediction. Tiebreaker, how many total points will be scored? I'm not good at this. I don't answer that, so I don't really care who's in the Super Bowl as long as it's not the LA Rams. That's one of my least favorite teams, the LA Rams. Never, especially after they beat the Saints 6 years ago to go to the Super Bowl. I know that was a different team back then. I know that was a different roster, but I would like to see the Buffalo Bills go to the Super Bowl. I would like to see them in it. I would like to see the Baltimore Ravens in it. See, those are all in the AFC, you know. The more entertaining teams are on the AFC side. NFC side, I guess I want to see the Detroit Lions because they've never been in the Super Bowl. I kind of hope I get this right, though, so whatever happens, happens, I guess. I think all these matchups will be very, very intriguing. So that is my prediction. Kansas City Chiefs beating the Detroit Lions in Super Bowl 59, and like I said, I think this playoff will be a lot more intriguing than the last, or yeah, for years and years, in my opinion. So I just hope it goes well, and I also hope the officiating goes well as well. So there you have it. Submit bracket. Can I make a second bracket? Oh, I can. I can make one more. Alright, I'll make one more then. This will be a much quicker one. I did the same thing with the college football playoff. Alright, let's go with the Texans. Let's go with Steelers, I guess. Let's go with the Broncos. NFC side, I'll go with the Vikings. I'll go with the Commanders, and I'll go with the Packers. I'm picking the opposite teams. Alright, divisional round. Broncos versus Chiefs. That's a divisional rivalry. Gotta go with the Chiefs. Texans and Steelers. I'll go with the Steelers. Vikings and Commanders. See, I hope these are not the matchups. Vikings or Commanders. That is a very tough matchup to pick. Vikings or Commanders. The game will be in Minnesota, so I guess I'll go with the Vikings. Packers and the Lions. Didn't they play each other on Thanksgiving? Packers. Upsets the Lions. AFC Championship game. Chiefs versus Steelers. Gotta go with the Chiefs. Packers versus Vikings. Game will be in Minnesota. We'll go with the Vikings. Vikings have never won a Super Bowl, though. And I guess I'll pick the Vikings. I don't know. I am not confident in this one because I want to pick a different champion, you know. Hold on. Let me go through these again. I can't see the Steelers beating the Ravens. I'm checking these again. Ravens or Texans? Ravens. Let's have the Ravens go to the Super Bowl. How about that? Yeah. The Ravens won the Super Bowl 12 years ago, and they also won it 12 years ago before that. So they might win it again 12 years later. I forgot to mention that. The Ravens might win the Super Bowl again 12 years later after winning it their last Super Bowl 12 years ago, if that makes sense. Basically 2001, 2013, and 2025. They won the Super Bowl February of those years, so they might do it. You know what? Yeah, let's go with Ravens as champions. How about that? Let me go through these again. I can see the Vikings beating the Rams. I can see the Commanders beating the Buccaneers. I don't really see... Well, I guess I'll pick Packers over Eagles. This is like a joke bracket that I'm doing. Sure, we'll do Lions. Lions-Vikings NFC Championship. This time Vikings win, because it's hard to beat the same team 3 times. Okay, Ravens as champions. There we go. So, either Kansas City Chiefs will three-peat, or the Baltimore Ravens will win the Super Bowl every 12 years. And 12 years ago, the Super Bowl was in New Orleans. And here we are again, 12 years later. So yeah, most likely I will watch the Super Bowl. I just hope the LA Rams doesn't get in it, which means they might get in it. I hope it's not Chiefs versus Rams Super Bowl. Other than that, I'm fine. If it's Packers versus Broncos, cool. If it's Ravens versus Commanders, cool. If it's Steelers versus Buccaneers, cool, I guess. Yeah, because my least favorite teams, New England Patriots, they're not in it. They suck now. Never liked the San Francisco 49ers either. Never really liked the Rams. Um, the Atlanta Falcons, that's the Saints' divisional rival. Although I did cheer for the Falcons when they played the Patriots, because back then I was sick of Tom Brady and that team. So, all right, guys, thank you for watching. Let me know what you pick. This is official. So, bracket number 2 is more of the upsets bracket. Bracket number 1 is the real deal. There we go. Let me know what you think. Who do you have in your Super Bowl? And if you want to fill out your bracket, I will put the link in the description. But remember, you have until Saturday, the 11th at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. And also, once the first playoff games start, that's it. You can't change any of your picks. That's it. All right. All right. Let's check in on my college football bracket. I did a prediction video of that as well. As I speak, the first semifinal game is happening right now. And I know I picked Georgia to win. Oh, my 2 champions are out. Georgia and Oregon. This is bracket number 1. I have Ohio State going to the national championship, so I think Ohio State will win. The semifinal games, I have Ohio State winning and Notre Dame winning. And I have Ohio State beating Notre Dame. All right, so that is my prediction on Bowl Mania. Oh, look at that, Ice Cube. Did I get every game incorrect? I did. I got every game. Bracket number 2 is the most failure bracket I've ever created. I got every game wrong. Wow. And then my Bowl Mania. Oh, if I can get to it. There we go. My Bowl Mania. I'm in 2 groups. Johnny Sports Network. If he's watching this, I was doing well, but I picked some upsets in all the recent games, and all of them were wrong. So I don't know. Johnny, I hope you do well. I hope you win, Johnny. I want you to win your own group, because I don't think that's ever happened all these years. At least beat Derek, the guy who harasses you, I guess. Alright, guys, that is it. I have a sports talk channel. Let me show you to it right now, just in case if you forgot what the name is. I'm actually about to record another episode of that. It's called Keith Sports News. Just type that in. That is me. That's my secondary name. Keith Sports News, KSN. I would do 2 episodes a week on Mondays and Fridays. So I will talk about more on the football games. Alright, so that is it. Thank you for watching, and enjoy the NFL playoffs, and hopefully it doesn't get criticized like crazy. And I really hope we finally have a great Super Bowl matchup. We might have an intriguing Super Bowl matchup, but what if it's a blowout? What if Kansas City stomps the Lions in that Super Bowl? I probably won't be too surprised, because like I said, more pressure will be on the Lions than the Chiefs. So, alright guys, that's it for real. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Enjoy the playoffs. Peace out.